Hello and welcome to Hitting the Field. It's our second to last episode of the semester and we are very glad you're joining us. But before we get started, we'd like to extend our thoughts and condolences to the students and faculty at Ohio State University. We're thinking of you after yet another school shooting, and we hope that maybe this one will spark some change. Before we start our college football segment with Dimitri and Karl Max, I want to take a moment to talk about hypocrisy in college football. I know, you're all so surprised there's hypocrisy. Tom Herman is leaving the Houston Cougars to head a few miles west to Austin to coach the Texas Longhorns. We're all very happy for Coach Herman, a man who deserves the opportunity to coach at a legendary program in what is truly his dream job. Herman was the head coach at Houston for 2 seasons after a stint as the defensive coordinator at Ohio State. Herman took a talented team and made them an instant contender, going 12-1 in his first season and winning the American Conference and a bowl game over FSU. Now, after a year in which Houston beat Oklahoma and Louisville, Herman is headed to Texas to try and revive a stagnant program. But what about his players at Houston? Tom Herman had 2 recruiting classes, and every player was promised an opportunity to thrive in a program run by the man that recruited them. Now, he's gone and they're left in the dust. And here is where the hypocrisy of the NCAA steps in. While Herman leaves to be paid millions and start coaching immediately, his players are left with 2 options. Either stay at Houston under a new head coach, new program, or transfer to a different program but have to sit out a year. The players are trapped by a system that continuously favors those in power instead of the student athletes. These kids should be able to transfer to whatever school whenever they deem fit and play right away. I understand that the players signed a letter of intent to play at Houston, but they really signed a letter of intent to play for Coach Herman. And if he can leave without a penalty, they should be afforded the same opportunity. I am sick and tired of student athletes being left in the dust, and the NCAA must change this rule. If they're going to continue to pretend that the players are getting the most out of the NCAA's system, at least make it a reality in part. We're going to put up a Twitter poll about this topic after the show and would love to have your feedback, so please join in on the conversation. And now we start our competition by talking about Herman's move over to Texas. We've been talking about the college coaching carousel on this show for weeks, and a couple of spots have now been filled. Ed Orgeron finally lifts the interim tag. He'll stay at LSU, while Tom Herman, who used LSU just like that girl used you back in high school, Meech, gets the job at Texas. So who ends up having more success, Karl Max?
Wow. Sorry to hear that, Meech. But I believe Ed Orgeron and LSU will have more success than Texas next year. They have a great recruiting class coming up in 2017, 12 4-star recruits and 6 3-star recruits coming in to LSU. And the SEC conference, mind you, they do have University of Alabama, who are the number 1 consensus, number 1 team in the nation. But other than Alabama and SEC West, who else really is there? You have Auburn and LSU and other teams fighting out for that number 2 spot. So you can always see LSU, and they've been playing well with Ed Orgeron, 5-2 since he's taken over as the interim, and now he will be the head coach. So I got big things coming for LSU next year.
And Karl Max, I agree with you. They do have a great recruiting class coming in, but that's something Les Miles has been doing for years at LSU. They've never finished out of the top 10 during in recruiting classes based on ESPN's rankings since Les Miles was the coach. And they lost games to the teams that I would have expected them to lose to under Orgeron, who they would have lost to if Les Miles was the coach, in games against Alabama and Florida. And if you take the LSU job, what do you have to do to take that program to the next level? You have to beat Alabama. And I'm not sure Ed Orgeron is the man that can do that. Wherein if you're Tom Herman, you've been 22-4 in your first 2 years at Houston, like Jeremy mentioned. He won a major bowl game, a BCS bowl game against Florida State, who's obviously a more talented team than Houston was that first year. And Ed Orgeron's never even coached in a bowl game. So I don't know how you can look at the situation. The Big 12 is not nearly as good as the SEC West, top to bottom. Texas, Charlie Strong leaves behind a bed of freshmen and sophomore players who have started this year. They have a true freshman quarterback, Shane Buechele. LSU still has a quarterback problem. So I say you have to go with Tom Herman at this point. And I mean, I expect big things for the Texas Longhorns.
It's a lot to get started, and Herman and Orgeron may have more wins in their first year, respectively, than Coach Scott Frost, but what a success year 1 was for him here at UCF. It was a tough loss for the Knights on Saturday to the team who shall not be named, as they finished 6-6 on the year. It was Coach Frost's first year running the program, and it was a remarkable turnaround for a team that was 0-12 the year before. But what should we expect from this young squad going forward next year, Dimitri?
Well, Jeremy, one thing I'll definitely say to look forward, we have a lot to look forward to as UCF football fans. Last year, Scott Frost's first year, even with his back against the wall recruiting coming in so late, he still managed the number 4 ranked recruiting class in the AAC. This year, he's already put together the number 3 recruiting class. And Houston, the team that Tom Herman just left, is actually ranked above them. So you could expect them to fall. Maybe, Scott Frost is able to scrounge up some of those recruits who have jumped ship from Houston now. Not only that, Willie Taggart, the head coach at USF, he might end up leaving, which would take out our biggest in-state rival recruiting-wise. And we have a pretty easy schedule as far as out-of-conference next year. We have to play Maryland, who we barely lost to this year. Another year under the Scott Frost system could help that. And Georgia Tech will be a difficult game, but that'll definitely help us get ready for in-conference games against Navy and Tulane, who also run the triple option. So it's a nice schedule that could set up for a championship run for the Knights in 2017.
And Carl, what do you think about the future here?
I definitely agree. I see bright futures coming for the University of Central Florida in Bright House Stadium. We have 4 3-star recruits coming in next year. So as Meech said, next year we have some recruits, and we also have a lot of young talent that's on the team. Milton, the freshman, so we get to see him evolve more in Scott Frost's system, that up-tempo offense. So it's good things to come, I think, for UCF next year.
All right, and so UCF had a great year this year where Louisville started that way, but on Saturday they went down to Kentucky. And regardless of the 280 through the air and 170 on the ground for Lamar Jackson, 4 total touchdowns, he turned the ball over 4 times in the loss. And now that's back-to-back losses for the Cardinals, and it's halted some of the unanimous Heisman talk for Jackson. Is he still the Heisman? And if not, who should be? What are your thoughts on this one, Karl Max?
Even though he's been struggling the last couple of weeks, I still think Lamar Jackson is the head and shoulders favorite, but he has some trailers coming behind him. If anyone is able to take away his Heisman momentum, I would say it would be Deshaun Watson out of Clemson. He has
the guy who beat him when they went head-to-head.
Who beat him, so they already have the head-to-head, and he has 34 touchdowns and 14 interceptions and almost 4,000 all-purpose yards for Deshaun Watson. And he has one more game left. He has the ACC championship against Virginia Tech next week. So if he has a great showing out against Virginia Tech, he could possibly sway some voters to his side.
Yeah, it's all about momentum at the end. Meech?
I definitely agree with Karl Max that Lamar Jackson should still be the Heisman front runner, but we know from the past the Heisman isn't necessarily the most fairly given out award. And these last couple of games have definitely put a damper on Lamar Jackson's season. And I've actually dug up some numbers that are kind of interesting. 22 out of Lamar Jackson's 51 total touchdowns on the year came from 3 games against Marshall, Charlotte, and Boston College, who rank 104, 106, and 44th nationally in scoring defense. Not only that, in the last 2 games, including this last game against Kentucky, Lamar Jackson struck the Heisman pose twice, while also turning the ball over 4 times.
Right.
So Lamar Jackson actually has a 2-to-1 Heisman pose to turnover ratio at this point.
Man.
And that's never a good thing to have at this point of the year.
Oh, goodness.
I mean, I love Lamar Jackson. I love what he's done this year, but he's definitely opened the gates, and you can never leave anything in the minds of these Heisman voters. They're wishy-washy. You never know what's going to happen.
Whew. All right. Now, we're going after each other, but to finish this one off, we know that other than Alabama, every team that has a shot at the playoff has some sort of question marks. For now, we assume that it will be Bama, Ohio State, Clemson, and Washington. But championship weekend will likely shake that up. We have some huge games coming up this weekend. So which storyline are you following closest, Dimitri?
Well, everyone's going to talk about the championship games that have playoff implications, and that's fine. You have the Big Ten championship with Wisconsin and Penn State, to either of them getting in over Ohio State, but I'm not really worried about that. One thing that the committee does that isn't just involved with the playoffs is deciding which group of 5 team gets a chance to play in a New Year's 6 bowl game, and that affects people like us here at UCF.
Right.
So this year, the 2 teams fighting... The two teams fighting the hardest for the bowl game is Western Michigan and Navy. Navy's been on a tear the last couple months. Western Michigan's undefeated with a 26-point-per-game differential. So that's something I want to look forward to.
Yeah, it's an interesting matchup and seeing who gets ranked higher. And Carl?
For me, it's the Big Ten championship. You got Wisconsin and Penn State. The winner of that will most likely sweep in. If the Pac-12 championship goes in favor against Washington, you can see either Wisconsin or Penn State in. Penn State beat Ohio State, gave them their one loss this year. So it will be interesting to see the winner of the Big Ten championship who gets into the playoffs. So could be some good football this weekend.
Yeah, no matter what happens this weekend, no matter what happens in the competition right now, we know that it will be great football. But going into our commercial break and ending this segment, I'm going to have to give the victory to Dimitri Zamaris, and he did it all this segment, bringing out the jokes with the Heisman ratio, and you did a great job talking about the recruiting class from Miles and what that really hasn't done for LSU, how it'll transfer for Texas, and talking about UCF and how we could have a bright future with Herman leaving Houston. So Dimitri wins this one, and we'll be back after the break here on Hitting the Field to talk NFL with Jimmy and Chris.
Today, when you have multiple devices at your fingertips, wouldn't it be great if you could run the software you need on all of them? Well, now you can. UCF Apps is a new and innovative way for you to access the applications that you need to get your coursework done from any PC, Mac, tablet, or smartphone. For more information or to give your input on UCF Apps, go to apps.ucf.edu. What are you waiting for? Start using UCF Apps today.
Lake Claire's Universities of Central Florida's place for relaxation, tranquility, and a good time. Students who crave the outdoors can experience the wonders of Lake Claire and all the benefits it has to offer. Lake Claire offers a wide variety of kayaks, wakeboards, canoes, and much, much more. All of this is free for UCF students and can be rented out every day of the year except for on football game days. Students can take advantage of the wide open spaces and throw around a frisbee with your friends, or attack the ball with our sandy volleyball court. Come by the dock, sit down, and enjoy the beautiful view of Lake Claire's clear blue waters. Located just off the side of Gemini Boulevard and Greek Park Drive, this bubble of nature is one you must check out after finals week. For more information and rentals, visit our website so you can enjoy Lake Claire today.
Today, when you have multiple devices at your fingertips, wouldn't it be great if you could run the software you need on all of them? Well, now you can. UCF Apps is a new and innovative way for you to access the applications that you need to get your coursework done from any PC, Mac, tablet, or smartphone. For more information or to give your input on UCF Apps, go to apps.ucf.edu. What are you waiting for? Start using UCF Apps today.
Hello and welcome back to Hitting the Field. I'm joined by Chris Davis, Jimmy Calhoun, and we're excited to get back here in the second segment. So let's get started real quickly. 9-2 Raiders, 8-3 Chiefs, 7-3 Broncos. The AFC West has had some of the best football in the NFL this year, and now that the Oakland Raiders have won 5 in a row, and the Chiefs took down the Broncos in overtime last night in Denver, the division is up for grabs. With 5 weeks left in the season, who should be the favorite, Jimmy?
Should be the Raiders. They got an MVP candidate at quarterback in Derek Carr. They got a great running back in Latavius Murray, who went to UCF.
Oh yeah, charge on. All right.
All right. They have a great wide receiver combo in Amari Cooper and Michael Crabtree. They have probably the best defensive player in the NFL in Khalil Mack after what you saw him do against the Panthers last week. He can take the game over at any time and win you a game, but so can the quarterback in Derek Carr. They already have a game lead over the Chiefs. They're 9-2. They're fighting for home field advantage. They have an easy schedule throughout. I think it's the Raiders' division to lose.
And Chris, you going with the silver and black as well?
I was about to until he said easy throughout, which is not true. The last 4 games are all on the road. Broncos are the last team, and they also play the Chiefs, and they also have the Chargers. All 3 of those teams are in that mixture, even though the Chargers are a little bit out of it. So it's not a cakewalk. But even given that 1 point that's off, I still go with the Raiders. They are a game ahead of the Chiefs, but it's not a cakewalk by any means.
Okay. So both teams players here going with the Raiders. And so since both of you did not name the Broncos as your favorite, that means they'll have to try and get in through the wild card. At 7-4, they're actually on the outside looking in at this point, tied with the Dolphins by record, as the Fins hold the tiebreaker and have won 6 games in a row. So, gentlemen, are the Dolphins or the Broncos more likely get into the postseason? Chris, I mean, this is crazy that I'm asking this. I can't even believe it.
I'm actually going to go with your team, the Miami Dolphins. Through those 6 games, Ryan Tannehill has a 104.7 QB rating. He also had 3 touchdowns, no picks in his last game. They have a running game. Adam Gase said it's going to take a while, so all that stuff about, they usually implode around this time can just be about put to bed. They have a 2-1 record against divisional opponents, and they have a few coming up here to close the season. Oh, and also the Patriots, their last game, the last 4 or 5 seasons, the Patriots have rested a lot of players, and with the injuries to those players, we could see the same thing. So I see them closing out better. The Broncos have a tougher schedule coming down, and I think that they're going to find themselves 10-6 and out of the playoffs, and the Dolphins will end up 11-5 and get in the wild card.
And
Jimmy? That's where you're wrong, Chris. What have the Dolphins shown you in the last decade that makes you think they're going to win out or win as many games as it takes to get in the playoffs? The Broncos are defending Super Bowl champions. They're proven. Their next game, the Broncos' next game, is against Jacksonville, while the Dolphins' next game is at Baltimore. Right there, it could be a game up for Denver in the wild card race.
And we know that's hard for a Steelers fan to say that Baltimore's a tough game.
It is. I'm telling you it is. But Trevor Siemian has shown up. Last night he threw for 3 touchdowns and over 300 yards. The defense is getting healthy with Aqib Talib now playing. Like I said, they've proven it. They probably should have won the game last night, and we probably wouldn't even be having this conversation.
But they
I
didn't.
think Denver is proven, and they'll make the run.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
You can't trust Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, I do agree that you can't trust Ryan Tannehill.
That's why they have a running game.
2 great teams in the AFC, to a team that is somehow in first place despite just looking terrible for most of the season. The Texans are now 6-5, in large part due to what we'll call lackluster play from Brock Osweiler. 3 picks, no touchdowns yesterday. So should Brock Osweiler be benched at this point, Jimmy?
He shouldn't be benched this year. They should let him play out this year because they paid him. But I think next year, have him as the backup quarterback and make a run at Tony Romo of the Cowboys. I think if they can get Tony Romo, they have proven receivers with DeAndre Hopkins and Will Fuller's only developing. They have a good defense. J.J. Watt will be back next year. Lamar Miller is balling. And, they're still, like you said, they're still leading the division with Brock Osweiler, even though he's not putting up the best stats in the world. They don't have anyone better. So this year they should stick it out and use him as a backup next year would make a strong run in Tony Romo.
Okay, interesting. Chris?
Yeah, we're talking about this year, though. He shouldn't be benched. The organization may have some buyer's remorse for giving the guy $73 million, $37 guaranteed, but Tom Savage, who they drafted in the 4th round in 2014, hasn't thrown a pass. Brock Osweiler is in the AFC South, and it's very ugly right now. And I think that they're going to have to rely a lot on Lamar Miller. They're going to have to rely on the defense. I think they got a little bit away from that in this past game, but if they don't, they can have him be that game manager. When you have him flinging around the ball, you're going to turn over the ball a lot because he's not an accurate down-the-field passer. So it's really managing it. They're going to have to figure all that other stuff out down the line, but the question was, can he stay the starter for now? And I think he should.
Okay, all right. And here's the last question of this round. The Seahawks and the Patriots will win their respective divisions and most likely have first-round byes. They're both great teams, but both do have concerns. The Seahawks put up 5 points at home against the Bucs, and the Patriots won, but Gronk sat out most of the game with a back injury. Brady's knees seemed to affect him throughout, and their secondary got torched by Ryan Fitzpatrick. So who's got more to worry about down the stretch, Chris? And I messed that one up. I believe the Seahawks played on the road in Tampa. So that was my bad there.
I think it has to be both teams are obviously going to, do their thing and finish up. But the Seahawks were missing 3 key players. Procise, who's broken out of the backfield, been a runner for you and getting out the backfield. They also lost their main pass rusher in Bennett last game,
Right.
and Earl Thomas missed his first game in the secondary.
Okay.
So usually their defense stimulates their offense. You get them, your defense, your running game keeps your defense fresh, and your defense is able to peel their ears back and get after the quarterback. They weren't able to do that last game, and I think ProSize has been one of their highest producers as far as setting up their play action pass, which they didn't have. Whereas the Patriots, on the other hand, I think it's a little bit of an issue for me to have Gronk out with a back injury, and then also have the knees with Tom Brady. He wasn't able to hit the guys in stride like he really wanted to down the stretch. So for me, it's got to be the Patriots as far as what you do matchup-wise in the AFC in the playoffs.
Okay.
I think it's the Patriots too. I mean, even though Seattle lost and probably lost number 1 seed home field advantage throughout the playoffs in the NFC, I don't think Dallas is that much of a home field advantage for the Seahawks to go in and beat them.
That's a good point.
The Patriots have competition with the Raiders. Their defense hasn't shown up this year. They might have to play quarterbacks like David Carr and Ben Roethlisberger in the playoffs with no pass rush. And like Chris said, the tight ends. Rob Gronkowski's hurt and Martellus Bennett is hurt. We've seen the Patriots be a different team without Rob Gronkowski, and I think without that pass rush, because they've let Chandler Jones go and they traded Jamie Collins. I think that can come back to bite them because they don't have the one pass rusher that can get to the passer in the playoffs like the Raiders do with Khalil Mack. I think that'll hurt them.
Man, this was a real nice fight between the two of you guys. And Chris, I love the points that you made about the last 4 on the road for Denver, I believe it was, or it was the Raiders rather, and the comments you made about the running game and Tannehill's finally coming together. But at the end here, Jimmy, where you talk about playing out the year and maybe making a run at Romo, that's an interesting thought process going forward. And Dallas is not a great home field for the Seahawks. I like that point. So Jimmy is going to get the victory here. I'm sorry, Chris, but you will not be defending the title from last week. And so as we wrap up this segment, we'll be heading back after the break with the joust between Jimmy and Dimitri.
Today, when you have multiple devices at your fingertips, wouldn't it be great if you could run the software you need on all of them? Well, now you can. UCF Apps is a new and innovative way for you to access the applications that you need to get your coursework done from any PC, Mac, tablet, or smartphone. For more information or to give your input on UCF Apps, go to apps.ucf.edu. What are you waiting for? Start using UCF Apps today.
Lake Claire's Universities of Central Florida's place for relaxation, tranquility, and a good time. Students who crave the outdoors can experience the wonders of Lake Claire and all the benefits it has to offer. Lake Claire offers a wide variety of kayaks, wakeboards, canoes, and much, much more. All of this is free for UCF students and can be rented out every day of the year except for on football game days. Students can take advantage of the wide open spaces and throw around a frisbee with your friends, or attack the ball with our sandy volleyball court. Come by the dock, sit down, and enjoy the beautiful view of Lake Claire's clear blue waters. Located just off the side of Gemini Boulevard and Greek Park Drive, this bubble of nature is one you must check out after finals week. For more information and rentals, visit our website so you can enjoy Lake Claire today.
Today, when you have multiple devices at your fingertips, wouldn't it be great if you could run the software you need on all of them? Well, now you can. UCF Apps is a new and innovative way for you to access the applications that you need to get your coursework done from any PC, Mac, tablet, or smartphone. For more information or to give your input on UCF Apps, go to apps.ucf.edu. What are you waiting for? Start using UCF Apps today.
Gentlemen, we're back here with the joust, and we're joined by Jimmy Calhoun and Dimitri Samaras, and the center is back. To start this season, we've had stellar play from the likes of Karl Anthony Towns, Andre Drummond, and Hassan Whiteside, and so many others. So, Meech, who is the best in the game right now?
Well, my answer might be a little shocking, but I'm going to go with Joel Embiid as the best center in the league right now.
Joel Embiid.
Right, yeah. Looking like he's going to be the Rookie of the Year this year in the NBA. To compare him, because I assume Jimmy and other people who would be on this panel would say probably DeMarcus Cousins or Karl Towns, but they're both averaging around 34 minutes per game, where Joel Embiid is on a minutes restriction. He can only play 20 minutes per game. So to fairly compare them, I went and looked at Joel Embiid's per 36 minutes statistics, and right now he's currently averaging 29 points, 12 rebounds, 4 blocks, and 2 assists. Per 36 minutes. Whereas DeMarcus Cousins in his 34 minutes per game is averaging 28, 10, 1 block, and 3 assists.
Interesting.
So definitely Joel Embiid, the process. He's the best center on social media already. That's something you got to look out
Definitely
for.
the best on social media. That much I can give you. And Jimmy, who are you going with?
I've got to go DeMarcus Cousins. Joel Embiid is having a good year, and DeMarcus Cousins isn't bad on Twitter himself when he was dissing George Karl with the Snakes.
That's true, right? Like the snakes under the grass.
You
right?
remember that. He's first in the center among scoring. He's averaging 28 a game. Always a great rebounder, 10 to 11 for his career. In the last 10 games, he's averaging 30 points and 11 rebounds. And I think this year he really wanted to get better at the three-point shooting, and he's shooting 40% from 3 this year. He's always been a great. It's insane.
It's insane.
Joel Embiid led the NBA in three-point percentage for the first month of the season.
It's a good point. But Jimmy, continue.
And DeMarcus Cousins is money on the free throw line. He's an 80% free throw shooter for a big man. And I think no one really talks about his passing, too. He's a playmaker, and he can dish up the assists when he wants to. He has a couple triple-doubles in his career. I think he's just the best overall, especially offensive center in the league.
Strong start. Now we're in year 3 of the careers of Andrew Wiggins and Jabari Parker, picks number 1 and 2 of the 2014 draft class. There was a great piece on ESPN.com from Chad Ford and Kevin Pelton talking about their star potential last week. So, to you, Jimmy, which of these young stars has the brighter future?
I think it's Andrew Wiggins. Like you just said, the potential is out of the sky for Andrew Wiggins. I think he'll have the better team in the next couple of years, so that's a bright future. Right now, he's averaging 23.5 points a game on 45% shooting and 40% from 3. He's only getting better. He probably is in consideration for most improved player of the year this year, and I think the potential, like I said, is just limitless.
And Dimitri?
I would argue that the potential for both players is limitless at this point. We've actually seen less of Jabari than we have of Andrew Wiggins.
Right.
You know, Jabari coming off the ACL injury a couple years ago, he's shown to have the same exact explosiveness, if not more explosion, in his game after the injury than he had before. And not only that, Andrew Wiggins not nearly the shooter to the level that Jabari Parker is. And we know in the way the game is evolving at this point, you're going to need to be a bigger guy who can shoot. Jabari Parker can shoot. And what Jimmy said about, the Wolves potentially being a better team, that could actually take away from the Andrew Wiggins spotlight, because he has a generational talent on his team in Karl Anthony Towns. Jabari Parker, while he does have the Greek Freak on his team, is probably on the same level, if not has higher potential than the Greek Freak at this point. So he could end up being the brightest star on his team, and I don't know if you can say that for Andrew Wiggins.
I think availability is a major key, though, and like you said, Jabari Parker got hurt and missed a lot of his last season. Andrew Wiggins has been healthy.
Right, and so we'll see where that goes, but this is a fun end to the program, and we'll have to keep this one relatively quick. Since our last show, the Cavs haven't lost. Kevin Love dropped 34 and a quarter, and the Cavs led a game by almost 40 at the half. The question for you guys is, if we made a starting lineup of the best players in the Eastern Conference not on the Cavs, could that starting 5 even beat the Cavs starting 5? We'll start with you, Meech.
No, absolutely not, because the Cavs still have LeBron James, the best player on the planet. And what does LeBron James do in the Eastern Conference? He gets his team to the finals. And that's what's going to happen even if you put an all-star squad up against him.
I believe you can find 5 players. Greek Freak at point guard, DeMar DeRozan at shooting guard, Jimmy Butler at the 3, Paul George at the 4, and Hassan Whiteside with defense.
Man, that is a lot of length. That's a lot of length.
Defense and offense.
None of them can
guard
Kyrie.
That's a lot of length, but
none of them can guard Kyrie.
That is the problem there. And the big things. This was a tough segment here, but the big things that got this victory for Dimitri is taking away from the star of Andrew Wiggins with the team and trusting the process. We all have to trust the process. So congrats to Meech. Make sure to check out his night vision and join our conversation from the first segment on our Twitter at Hitting the Field. We will be back next Monday. Thank you for joining us. It'll be a preview. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you in 7 days.
Hey, Mom.